Hey everyone, this is Travis with Never Ending Streamer, looking to talk about Survivor. Uh, Talk about the season as a whole, the finale. Before I get to that, I will say that this is the first season, I believe, since season 45, where I didn't cover most or all of that season. Um, this season was weird, just being able to watch it when it airs. There were several times. I felt like half the season I had to watch delayed, so it made it a little more challenging to try to cover the season. So at some point, I was just like, I'm just going to enjoy the season. Um, I really overall enjoyed Survivor 50. Uh, Pleased with the outcome. Very happy for Aubrey. I think she played a great game, and despite her inability, not her inability, but in the earlier stages of the game, I don't know what it is, but I feel like that's somewhat common in her seasons. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not remembering that right. Uh, if I'm not, put it in the comments. Let me know. Has Aubrey started a season with a big group before where she felt like she had a good presence? Um, Maybe go wrong, but I don't know. I always feel like she's the scrappy underdog, trying to pull her way up. And I really appreciated her mindfulness of her past seasons, understanding that, when someone wins Survivor, they win the game. That's their season. It doesn't make it any any easier to be on the wrong side of that. I mean, losing to Michelle and Co Wrong. Um, and we have a similar feeling where, Jonathan in his exit press is discussing, his thoughts on believing he won and played the better game. And I saw an interview. I don't know what channel or network her interview was. She was answering questions. And she said, Jonathan's able, he can feel however he wants to. He can say whatever he wants to. She doesn't mean she has to agree with it, but, he's allowed to feel how he feels. And I think if anyone is going to understand Jonathan's position, Aubrey is probably the best person. She knows. She knows what that feels like. She knows how difficult it must be to get to that stage, receive votes, and come up short. I I mean, at some point, I think with the finale, I was rooting for uh Tiffany and Aubrey. Of the five, those were the two I was hoping would sneak out a win. Uh, to give credit to Tiffany, she played a monster game. I know when I did the preseason uh, thoughts on my ramblings on the cast, I do remember saying that I thought of the season 46 crew that was returning between her, Q, and Charlie. I did say that I thought she had the best chance to go the furthest. Um, so a little pat on the back. God, that felt so weird. Maybe I'll edit that part out. Um, I think she played similar style where she felt like she had many connections, but then at the end in the finale, her and Aubrey are both like, I have to either I win or I'm going home. And, she won the balancing inconceivable challenge when everyone else was trying to help each other. Um, I mean, and that's where we see Suri go home. Suri is just incredible. How she's able to stay in the game at all when everyone knows that she is just a fantastic player. Um, it really is fun to watch. She and I was really happy to see her and Ozzy back. I think you sometimes don't appreciate enough the characters, the players that do return. Sometimes we're like, I know for me, I was like, we've seen these players three or four, five times, whatever it was, with some of the cast that was returning. And I thought the cast did a great job. I think, from Coach for up until the merge having somewhat mellow vibe where everyone was gravitating towards him, you know, until he admittedly turned back into Coach, went from Tidewalker to Dragon Slayer. Um, you know, anyone who didn't make, the jury or the merge, um, I thought that they left the game as gracefully as you could. And I don't know, I'm pleased with how the season turned out. I know, the coin flip with Devons could have been a big like, oh crap, Devons just got voted out because he didn't get voted out because he flipped the coin and got it wrong. Amazing. Um, that episode was incredible because we are talking about uh, Devons is such a good narrator and describing how he was made for this and knowing he's on the bottom and 50-50 chance is better than a 1 in 6 shot in the dark and um but no one else wanted to risk going home. Um so I think overall the season 50 was great. Um I think there were some, things that I think the was it the split 10, the 5-5 where Emily and Ozzy went home. That was kind of a unfortunate thing. And overall, um, Aubrey winning just feels it just feels right that she is the winner. Um, very happy for her. Um, when the votes were being read at the finale, it almost looked like when it was tied 3-3, she was voting like she was saying, please, please. I could be completely wrong about that. Um, that's how her vibe felt to me, that she was just hoping that it would actually go her way this time. I'm glad it did. I think she, I think she has such a grasp on what's going on, um, that she can kind of navigate wherever she needs to be with who she needs to navigate around or with. And um, I think early on in the season, we didn't see too much from her other than the fact that like she talked about her. Let me see. Pull up notes real quick. From earlier, she talked about her team being crazy, her tribe. Um, and I think Dee also mentioned that her tribe was a mess. And so outside of that, there was the, feud with Genevieve, and their inability to kind of like connect and work together. It does sound like in the interviews I've seen of Aubrey that she was, you know, open to working with her. Um, and I mean, I think Aubrey was able to basically understand her position and then connect enough with others to formulate a plan to get other people out. Um, and that sounds like basic Survivor, but she was able to do it. And the fact that she bought a Samotion table, practice it before coming out here. Um, I think just kind of amplifies her mindset of wanting to be as ready for anything that Survivor 50 threw at her. And it it seemed like when I was watching the finale, my thought was if she wins the Final Four challenge, it would seem like she's going to win the game. Um, I don't think she loses to any combination of Joe, Jonathan, and Rizzo. Um, I just don't. I think Aubrey was able to garner information to utilize to her benefit as best as possible. And I don't know. I think that the not outlash, but Jonathan's take of thinking he played the best game. And I know he also said at some point, like as soon as he didn't win some motion or Aubrey won some motion, he knew he lost the game. Or I believe that was Jonathan's words and not Joe's. So it's I can imagine how difficult it is to lose. Um, whether it's in the finals or in the jury phase or even the first half. Like, I think that would be monumentally difficult for me to like process, uh, try to understand where I went wrong or knowing where I went wrong. Um, and I think that's why I'm so happy for Aubrey because she's had 10 years to process that loss. Um, and I mean, she played three times in the span of what, 4 years? 32 and 34 and season 38, I think, was Edge of Extinction. So that's a span of six, maybe it's three times in 3 years. I don't know. But I mean, she played three times in a short window. Um, and I think it would be interesting. I haven't seen all of her exit press, but or all any of her previous conversations that she's had from other seasons, but it'd be interesting to know if that loss impacted her in-game play from Game Changers or Edge of Extinction. Like, did she still feel that loss while she was playing? Like, did it impact like her mindset or anything like that? Because in this season, she was very open about, you know, learning more about herself in that time, in the past 10 years, growing as a person, utilizing, you know, others in a way that wasn't disingenuous. So I really appreciate that Aubrey won. I'm really happy about it. I would have been stoked if Tiffany won too. Um, I mean, after the episode where you see Devins and then Suri go home, it's like, well, that was a massive episode of losing. And I mean, before that, it was Ozzy and Emily. So it was, yeah, I'm happy with Aubrey's win. And I can only imagine the relief that she feels knowing that she, climbed that mountain, reverse the curse, whatever phrase you want to throw in there that highlights that she's the winner and she doesn't have to wonder anymore. She doesn't have to wonder what it would be like to get there and come up short and then come back and win. Like she did that. She came back, she won. And I think it would have been interesting to see had they swapped tribes an episode later or sooner, like would there have been any different outcome? Possibly, but I mean, the way the season went, she was able to muster up whatever it took to form the relationships, connect with people. Um, I think she comes across as very genuine. She's someone I would want to work with on Survivor. I think she's very clever. I think she knows how to utilize information that's given to her. I think Survivor 50 kind of just highlighted, you know, whatever other seasons she played. I mean, Edge of Extinction, I think it was pretty clear that no returning player was going to win. I think that was the mindset of the new players. Um, Game Changers played with Sari. That relationship, I think, clearly had an impact on Aubrey's game. Like they had a kind of a working relationship on the down low, on the DL. And um I loved their when they voted for each other, when Sari was voted out. I love how they talked about each other. They're very you could tell they're very fond of each other. Aubrey claiming that saying that Sari is the best player over Sandra and Tony. She's the best Survivor player. That's what Aubrey says. She's honored to consider her a friend. And Cerie's just like, we gotta stop meeting like this. We need to go on vacation or do something else. And she talked about loving her. And I mean, I think it's incredible that in a game where you have to build enough trust to then break it, to vote people out, that these people are able to form such incredible bonds of friendship. I think it speaks to like how strong they are. Um, and and I think that's one of the things where like if I were to ever play, am I that strong? Let alone the physical temperature, the physical challenges and the temperatures and all that other stuff and the bugs and rats or whatever, you know, and would I be tough enough to like understand that it is a game and that this breaking of trust that happens doesn't have to break, the potential friendships that are there after the game. So it's not something I think about a lot, but just talking about it right now, it makes me wonder like how everyone must deal with it differently once the game is over. Um, I'm a big fan of, Rob has a podcast, Rob Cesternino, Stephen Fishback, the Know-It-Alls, Why Blank Lost, and on and on and on and on. And the community that's built there, it's just like in this extension of Survivor and friendship that are formed. And um, so it makes me really interested, just seeking internally, like, is that something I have within me? And that's why I think I'm so gratified that Aubrey Bracco is the Survivor 50 winner. Um, because I think that I can relate to her. I feel like I am someone who often gets trapped in my own headspace um and I can imagine how tough losing was. And she talked about like in interviews cutting herself off from Survivor for a while. Um and um yeah, I'm real I I don't know how else to say it. I'm just really happy for her. I'm a big fan of this season overall. Um, and, you know, my wife and I watch Survivor together. I introduced her to Survivor with Millennials Gen X season 33. We've watched it live every episode. with the exception of this season. Like, I think there may have been one or two times over the past however many years that I hadn't watched it live, but this season, just there were so many instances where stuff was going on. I couldn't watch it live, and my son is into Survivor now. Um, and he has not watched the finale yet. So he's always having to watch it after the fact. So he watched the penultimate episode this weekend. Um, and I think he was bummed about Devins and Suri going home. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what he thinks of the finale. I'm I'm happy with it. I think Samotion's a great challenge. Um, I think I'm at the point where I'm just kind of rambling now. I'd love to know who everyone was rooting for at the beginning of the season, and if and how that changed throughout the course of the season. I mean, there were a lot of people on this season. I was like, okay, yeah, can they win? That'd be great. Would it be awesome to see Sari or Ozzy finally get the title? Absolutely. I thought of the returning winners, I don't know if I picked D or Savannah as having the best chance, but I think we missed. I still would have loved to see them go head to head on individual challenges. I think that would have been great. Um, and gosh, there's so many players from this season. And big kudos to Joe. Like he's been handling this, and what I've seen in the exit press, he's been handling this loss so well. Placing the blame on himself and say, "Hey, it was me. Like I just didn't get it done." And um, I really appreciate that. Um, he seems like someone you'd want to hang out with. Yeah. What else from this season did everyone like? Were there any challenges that you thought were great? Uh, who was your winner pick from the season? I don't even remember who I picked. I might have picked Tiffany. I might have picked Tiffany. Um, but yeah, I think that's all for now. Maybe I'll come back with some more thoughts, different time. Um, again, congratulations, Aubrey. Big time kudos. Happy for her getting this win. Well deserved. Um, snaps all around. Uh, and, it sounds like she's done with Survivor. Like it seems like this is like the, I guess, quote unquote perfect send off, like finishing her arc, her Survivor arc. I don't know. I really don't know because the same thing with Sari. When Probst was snuffing her torch, he says that's why we love having you back because everyone loves you. And it's like I could see them bringing back Sari. Everyone like I could see that happening. Like so, I think this season highlighted that there's a possibility for these returning players to come back again. I know people have been saying Tiffany is for sure coming back. Um, so who knows? Uh, I I think there's something about the returning seasons that are you just find a connection with these people that you've already seen, and you're rooting for them again. Um, and now with this open era, I have no idea what to expect. I'm looking forward to see how the creators of Survivor continue to twist and move and update the game. Um, because I think without a doubt, I do believe that they want to provide the best show for its viewers and fans. And so I'm looking forward to see what they come up with. Any twist or advantage that's ever been is open for Survivor 51 and beyond. I That's crazy. I think that's wild because anything could pop up. There would be no expectation of knowing what would be in the season because in a new era, if you had a twist, you're like, okay, that's going to stick around for a season or two. Now, who knows? They'll throw in a twist from 15 years ago. Who knows? And then another twist from last season. So, looking forward to it. Let me know thoughts on the season as a whole, the finale. Are you happy with the winner? If you are as happy as I am that Aubrey won, why don't you share that in the comments, like the video. If you want more Survivor content like this, let me know. All right. I'll see everyone next time. Bye.